Okay, welcome back to the next episode. So today I've decided we're going to do some of the hatches. So look at how we're going to frame out some of these hatches down here. We'll also take a look, I've got them in Coda, so we'll have a bit of a look how that's going to sit across the front of the boat, which we'll do a bit later on in the video. But for now, I've had a bit of a think and I reckon I know how I want to build these hatches out. So let's take a bit of a closer look. Okay, so what I'm planning to do is I've got some 20 by 20 mil angle, which I'm planning to line around the bottom of these frames. And I found a bit of this rubber, which sits over, if it focuses, yeah, so it sits over the angle. And I think that's gonna make it nice and quiet when we shut these hatches, hopefully. So what I need to do, and I'm gonna rivet these frames all the way around, and I'm gonna make the hatches out of 20 mil tubing. So the idea is I want them to finish nice and flush. So it's gonna be a lot of drilling, a lot of riveting, but the idea is we try and make that finish nice and flush with the top. And then we'll be looking at whether we use a ply top or potentially an aluminium sheet top. So we'll have a bit of a look. The main aim is to get everything finishing nice and flush across here. And I might make up a bit of a jig so that hopefully I can make it a little bit easier for myself when I go and start to clamp these down and get it nice and level. So try and get something underneath just to make it nice and straight and level and start to rivet these on. So going to be a lot of cutting and a lot of drilling and then a lot of riveting. So let's see how we go. Let's make up some of these hatches. All right, so I've decided I'm going to make this front hatch first so that if it doesn't go to plan, it's going to be nice and easy to replace. So let's have a bit of a look, try and make up this front hatch. I'm also thinking I want it to sort of tilt up, not sort of this way. I'm thinking I'll tilt it up that way so that the electric motor, I'm thinking is going to sit on the other side. So it may lay across the edge there. So that way, if it tilts up this way, I might get a bit more clearance and a bit easier to access in here on that side if need be. So let's have a go. Let's make a few cuts and see if we can't work out a bit of a angle frame around for the hatch to sit on. So let's see how we go. Nice. Pretty happy with that. All right, so we've got some noisy magpies here, so hopefully it's not too loud. But what I've done here is framed out the first. I've cut a couple bits of the 20 mil frame for the lift up hatch. And now I'll just give you a bit of a closer look of what I've done. So using 20 mil angle, what I've done is I've cut this 20 mil angle, framed it all the way around. And then I found this little bit of rubber. I don't know exactly what it is, but it basically sleeves over the angle quite nicely, which I think might give us a nice soft close, I'm hoping. Now I've also used countersunk rivets around the sides, which I had a bit of trouble just because of the thickness of the aluminium when I'm trying to countersink it fully without trying to blow out the the hole too much. So I had a bit of trouble with the first, so I pretty much got better and better as I went on. So the last one I got absolutely perfect, which is up the end there, which I thought would be a good one to practice on this one here, because it's probably not going to be used as much. And what I managed to do with some of the ones that weren't as nice, I just ground them back a little bit, not too much, but just enough to try and get them reasonably flat. But was pretty happy with the ones that I did up the end there. They came out pretty smick. So I think I know what I'm doing now to try and get those rivets in nice and flush. But when I get to, I guess, the top sheet, so the top sheet I'm planning, been toying back and forward with whether to go apply top deck or a 3mm aluminium top deck. And I think, well, I'm pretty confident that I've decided I'm gonna go and try the 3mm aluminium. So I haven't worked too much with sheet before, but I do have all the tools to work with it. And I think it's just gonna be a nicer finish. It's gonna be lighter and not gonna have to worry so much about sealing and whatnot. So I reckon I'm gonna give that a crack. So we'll put all 3mm aluminium sheet over all these hatches. And yeah, so what I'll do now is I wanna try and make up the first actual hatch frame. So I just need to cut some miters, try and get this sitting in there nice and square. So cut some miters up, try and frame that up quickly with some braces. And then I might even try and figure out how I've got some stainless steel piano hinges. And I might just try and mount that there, see how that opens. So what I'll do now is I'll quickly cut some miters up, try and make up a nice square frame for the front hatch. And then let's see what we can do for hinging. All right, so we've cut up the hatch lid. So mitered that up in all the corners. So now what I'm gonna do just to quickly put it together, and it's probably gonna be how I put these smaller ones together, I'm just gonna put a little angle on the inside, just rivet it together for now, just to get a bit of an idea how that's gonna open. And then I'll see maybe on the bigger hatches, I might do some sort of internal bracing. But for these ones here, I'm probably just gonna use something like these little brackets on the insides. Yeah, so let's quickly put that together and see how it looks. All right, so I've got the first one together. So now I might have a bit of a look at how to put the hinges on. So one thing I'm gonna have to do, because these hinges are only about 1mm thick and I need to probably get them up to about 3mm as a finish, I'm gonna have to have some sort of plate underneath them, which I've found some 1.6, so that's probably gonna get it close enough, I think. All right, so I've just bolted this down as well so it's nice and sturdy, but I think we've had some success with the trial. So just got the hatch now that opens up, finishes quite flush. So what I might do is start to frame out all the others. So lots of framing to do. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I just need to figure out how I'm gonna hinge it, whether it's trying to finish the knuckle flush with the top of the deck or whether it's fully proud. At the moment, I've just used the screws that came with it, but they're not overly great. So I end up probably having to rivet it to try and get a tighter fit, because it is a little bit loose up there, but it is doing the job just for a bit of a trial. Yeah, so pretty happy. I think the concept's gonna work. So on to framing out the rest of the hatches now. So let's get stuck into it. All right, so we'll do this one here now. So I'm just using a laser measurer. Bit hard to use with one hand, but I'll see. And then just measuring across. So that one's 610. Let's see what this one, hopefully it's pretty good. 609. So I reckon I might cut a 609 and then that'll be pretty good. One for the middle, just to check. Oh, hang on. Might have tilted that a little bit. There you go, 610. The other measurement was 611. So it's pretty much 610. I can try and cut at 610 and always shave it down a little bit if need be, but that's looking pretty good. So I'll do a couple lengths of 610 now. Alrighty, so we got the first 2 bits in. They went quite nicely, just had to really fine tune it, but it's fitting very snug in the corners. So, how we want it. Perfect. So now I'll just get some measurements the other way and we'll cut those. Alright, so let's grab these next measurements. Good. Bang. So that's 546, one in the middle. Bang, 546. One more on the end. Bang, 546. So let's cut a 546. Alright, let's see if they fit. So first of all, let's chuck in these side ones. I'll just clamp them down for now. Getcha. Just clamp them in there somewhat. This one on the outside. And we'll see if I need to trim down these other ones a little bit. So I'll just push them up so they're about in the right spot. This one here. Oh, perfect. Like that. Nice and snug. Might just clamp the corners. Might go that one in that corner. That, let's have a look. Pretty nice fit. Pretty nice fit there. And the same with that one. Let's cut the last one now. Alright, let's try the other side, see if it fits, or if I need to shave it down a little bit. Oh, it's a little bit too much. Probably about 1/2 mil. Let's quickly take 1/2 mil off. Alright, let's try again. Oh, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Nice. Cool. I think that looks pretty good. So, should we do the one on the other side now? Okay, so I got the one on the far side done now. So, getting a bit of a routine and getting better and better at doing these. So I was glad I did the first trial before I did the main hatches. So yeah, the one at the front still did a reasonable job, but yeah, these last few I'm getting really good tight fits. And yeah, so got 2 more to do. These ones on the outer, which again, these are probably not as crucial. I was humming and ahhing whether I was going to actually frame those out, but yeah, it's pretty easy. So I'll quickly do those as well. All right, there we go. All of the hatches, I've cut out the frame for each lid to sit in. So done that. And yeah, most of them turned out quite well. The only one that's a little bit iffy was the one over in that corner, which I think when I riveted it, it was a little bit out of square, but we'll make it work. But everything else was pretty square, which was made it quite nice and easy with the miter. But otherwise, that's all of those cut. So now we're going to be drilling, countersinking, and then riveting them all in. So let's get stuck into that. Okay guys, that is all the hatches done. So they're all framed out, ready to put the deck on, and I'll be making, I guess, the actual frames for the hatches to go with the deck in that video. But for now, that's all framed out. I've sort of figured out how we're going to hinge them. Also ordered some gas struts, so I might have a bit of a play around with the gas struts on these before I start doing too much with the rest of it. But otherwise, that's all pretty much good to go. And I think I've decided I'm gonna give aluminium deck sheeting a go. So like I said, I think previously, I haven't used the sheet before too much, but yeah, we'll see how we go. I'm sure hopefully it'll turn out all right. But yeah, lots of hatches. I've also had a bit of a think of a few other ideas that I might be able to make. I was thinking with this space in between, which is, I guess, originally in my mind why I left it, I might be able to put a pedestal stand here and put a nice big support in the middle. So potentially put a little pedestal seat in there. And then on the other side, I was thinking about having some sort of half rod storage underneath the deck there. So we might have a look at that in another video, how we can maybe store half a rod underneath the deck there, and then the rest will just sort of stick out the back there. But otherwise, pretty happy with that. It's all coming together pretty nicely. And I guess the last thing I might do in this video, we'll have a look. I might sit the electric on and see how that sits now that I've got the electric. So let's have a look at that one. Alright, so I've put the Minn Kota on now, and just checking that the front hatch should just miss it. I'll probably have it come up to sort of around there, or maybe even there, but that works quite well. I was originally thinking of having that one tilt up that way, but I could potentially even have that tilt this way. But otherwise, it might just be a hatch I use once the motor's down. The same with this main hatch here. I've always known that that one's gonna have to be something used when the motor's down. Otherwise, what I was planning to do, at least half of that is gonna be something where I'm thinking the rods can go underneath the hatch here, probably sit out into this space, so that could also be potentially a bit of a rod locker section. But anyway, I'll have a bit of a look. I might have to get a plate welded on. It's sitting kind of straight, but not really. But I'll have a look. Something to look at in the next few episodes.